Hello, this is Fraser. Welcome to the second episode of Fraser Talks. So, in episode 1, I talked about DJing, French house music, audio engineering, and my creative philosophy. In this episode, I'm not exactly entirely sure what I'm going to be speaking about. I sort of want to focus around life, or about life, maybe around music. It doesn't have to be. Talk mindset, creativity, balance, and burnout. Things like this. And if you tuned in for the first episode, thanks so much for listening. It was a lot of rambling, trying to make it make sense, I suppose. And I had a lot of stuff to get off my mind, or get off my chest, So we might as well just start here. Creative identity outside of music. How do you define yourself when you're not DJing or producing? That's a really tough question. It's quite literally my identity, so it's kind of it's quite vulnerable to estimate what you are when you're not doing your craft, so I'll be completely honest, completely transparent with everyone. Most often, like with DJing, it's different. DJing for me is more of a pastime. It's more to perform the work that you do, right? So, and it's another art form in and of itself. But for producing, if I'm not producing, I feel quite empty. There's kind of like a void. Like it's like I'm not living up to my potential, or I'm just kind of wasting time, So it's really tough. If I'm not producing, I would define myself as lazy and not doing what I should be doing, which kind of ties into the maybe mindset and mental health aspect I will maybe touch on later on today, because that's putting way too much pressure on yourself. And when you're somebody like me, that's a constant, you do that every day. So the value of having a creative outlet that isn't for content, I'd say the value of that is you're being pretty sincere. It's really easy to tell when somebody's making TikTok videos or YouTube content, or even podcasts like this. It's pretty apparent that it's for something more. It's an advertisement in disguise. It's more of a, which is fine. Don't get me wrong here, but like sometimes it gets to a point where it's kind of like, oh, this is a very interesting video. Then all of a sudden, oh, there you go. There's the catch. The catch is pre-save this guy's song, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And you got to do what you got to do. You got to promote music, like how else are people going to hear your songs? How else are they going to know that you have something out? For example, I just released something today, and it's, I've done little to no promotional work, and a lot of people would probably, wonder and go like, why isn't he spamming my feed, dancing in front of his camera? Grown man, by the way. Like, why is he not doing this? Doesn't he want people to listen? Like, yeah, I want people to listen, but I don't want to shove it down their throat. So you got to do what you got to do. Don't get me wrong, but I do have my own personal opinions about this. The last thing on my mind is to set up my camera and begin dancing. Or you don't have to dance, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's not me. It's not me. Maintaining playfulness and curiosity. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if I said this in the previous episode, but if you're producing or if you're making music, you're writing anything, make something like, even if it's bad, just finish it. That's the playful part. Like, be goofy with it. Do something that is not exactly with the grain of what's expected of you, you know? Like, if you want to pitch a spoon being clanked on a pot and then pitch it up like 3 octaves and layer that with something else to make a snare or like a trap snare, do it. Nobody has to know. If you want to like, anyway, like, it's endless with this, you know. You don't have to use sample packs and things like just have fun with it, you know. Like, some of the weird videos I've been posting with the kind of rubber hose animation doll face with the spirals in the eyes, like that, like things like that. In the beginning, I like to add movie quotes of movies that I either enjoy or quotes that really stick with me, or they have some relevance to the track that I'm playing in the background, right? So yeah, it's really tough to explain, to pinpoint. Curiosity, not exactly sure. Well, creative identity outside of music. Like, curiosity. This could get into the lines of just trying new things, you know, like maybe you're getting tired of producing, you're getting tired of writing, you're getting tired of whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that makes you happy. Maybe create a list and think to yourself, what are things that I haven't done that I always kind of wanted to do? Like, I never bowled before. Oh, I never went cross-country skiing. Well, it's summer now, you can't do that, but, you know, maybe I wanted to learn how to do leatherworking, you know. I wanted to do woodworking, whatever it is, you know, coding, you get the point. Like, and oftentimes, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to move the mic here. Oftentimes, what's kind of funny about that is you can unintentionally gain inspiration. You could get inspiration from anything like that. And I think that's why that could be very beneficial. Number 3, burnout culture in the creative world. Okay, so my personal experience with burnout or creative fatigue. Oh, I could tell you a lot about that. That's my daily. That's me right now as I'm recording this, is burnout or creative fatigue. So maybe I could give you a little bit of advice as to what to do when you have this. If you're somebody like me and produces whatever it is you produce, okay? So most times I'll either journal, like I said in the first episode, things like that, go for a walk, or you can do this, what I'm doing right now, and recording a podcast. And the idea with this kind of podcast is it's not strict, you know. I'm not committing to a weekly or monthly schedule, which some people may find crazy, but hey, I'm not making money off this. The whole goal is not to make money off this. The whole goal is to kind of outsource this pent up energy I have within myself onto a platform that maybe other people can relate to. Maybe they'll find something helpful within it. I sure know it's helpful for me to actually speak, right? Sometimes I'm a bit too quiet, and sometimes that's a good thing. Pressure to constantly post, perform, or produce. Yeah, that's kind of ingrained into my nature. Especially for the producing aspect. Right now I'm on a break. I've been on just a little over a week of a break, and I think I need more time. It's just the fire is not there right now, you know, and I know it'll come back. Before, I didn't know how to deal with this, so it would feel like the end of the world, but not anymore. So yeah, like when you have that pressure on yourself, you will burn out. Trust me when I say that, you will burn out. And when you're doing this, you have to think to yourself, well, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for attention? Are you doing it to maybe build a career for yourself, you know? And that's a pretty helpful way as to knowing what the source is of your burnout. You know, like in the first episode, you're going to be constantly chasing that carrot on a stick if you don't meet your own expectations. So that's the downside of putting so much pressure on yourself. You know, like even with performing when you're DJing, like I like mixing in key. That's because I'm a perfectionist. And a lot of the time, sometimes I get to the mode where it's like, I don't need to mix in key. You know, you just rely on viewing the crowd or whoever it is you're DJing for, and, you know, reading the energy and playing the right track. Because a lot of the time, nobody in the audience is going to know, oh, you just mixed an A minor track into D flat major, which can kind of work, but I don't know, depending if it's just drums or whatever. But, you know, typically if you mix stuff that aren't supposed to be harmonic, most people won't notice and they won't care. Trust me. Like the amount of transitions I've heard in my life where I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. But that's because I have a music mind, right? And then you look around, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm the asshole in this situation. But that's just the producer part of me, you know? So I don't know I'm trained to really pick up on like what works and what doesn't work. So like musically, when I see that, it's like, oh, that doesn't work. But visually, when I see the energy of the people in the crowd, I'm like, oh, okay, well, technically, it doesn't even matter if it didn't work harmonically. The whole point of DJing and going to events is to dance and feel good and things like that. And clearly the crowd didn't mind, so that's a good thing, right? So that's the difference. I have to get out of producer mindset when I leave the quote unquote studio, you know. Signs you felt burnout sneaking in. Fatigue, increased feelings of hopelessness. That's not a cry for help. I've already gotten help and I maintain it quite well. But that's a sign for me, and it could be a universal sign. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know you just don't feel up to snuff. You don't feel like you normally feel, you know? So that's it for me, you know, like fatigue, you want to sleep more, things like that. So 4, balancing life, work, and art. Routines are rituals that help me stay grounded, or can help you stay grounded. Kind of going in circles here. Journaling. Journaling is really good. Try doodling, you know. Pick up that damn remote and watch a movie. I don't know. Whatever makes sense to you, whatever you enjoy, like whatever is the second banana, so to speak, when it comes to music, do that. Okay? Like maybe phone somebody you haven't phoned in a long time. How I recharge and how that isn't always being productive. Well, gaming for one, which I don't do as much. Here's an interesting thing, and I'm not sure if anyone can relate to this, and I've tried to bring this up to friends, but, you know, a few of them understand what I'm talking about, but, you know, sometimes I'm sitting there, and maybe I'm just doom scrolling, because I have no creative motivation, nothing like that, so I'm just doom scrolling, and I think to myself, man, I really want to play Skyrim, or I want to play a certain game. And what I begin to notice is the idea of playing the game is more exciting than actually playing. Now, think of that. It's quite depressing. Like, so I'll go out of my way, I'll install the game. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. Like, I had so many good memories with this game. I remember when it first launched. Oh, such a good game. I played that game so much. And so I install it, start playing, and And then I begin to realize like maybe I only play for about 30 minutes and then I turn it off because it just doesn't hit anymore. It doesn't hit the way it used to. And it's quite sad. Anyway, I just thought that'd be interesting to bring up. Encouraging other creatives to take breaks. Now, you got to be careful with that, because if you encourage somebody else that maybe, isn't quite grounded in where they are creatively or in terms of an artistic standpoint, because you could be easily misunderstood as, trying to sabotage their creative flow. I will never tell somebody, I think you should take a break when it comes to creativity, because they could look at it as I'm trying to sabotage exactly what I said, their flow, right? So, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of the times with some people, it's very sly. There's a word for it, but when people who come off as being very supportive of what you're doing, yet they're always so insistent on doing something else, it's because of this deep ingrained jealousy that they don't want to see you exceed where they're at. You know what I mean? Like, this can look like many things. This could be like, oh, you've been in the studio for too long. Come out for a drink. Let's go to the bar. What good is going to come from going to the bar? A hole in your pocket, a liver grasping for dear life, and regret the next day. This is talking from my point of view. Of course, I can only do that. But I've seen this time and time again with a lot of people who had so much potential and they allow distractions to get in their way, or they allow other people to get in their way. And this is not me putting assumptions on other people. The reason why I'm saying this is because I felt this way when people would say things like that to me. And yeah, it's a really weird feeling, because you know exactly what's going on, but it's designed so perfectly well that if you pointed it out, you look crazy. So a lot of the time it's just it's best not to say too much and just be like, yeah, no, it's okay. This is my life. I'm my own path. Like mind your business. I don't know. Okay. What's next here? Number 5, listener reflection or prompt. Oh, okay. So yeah, try to get you guys engaged a little bit, or whoever's listening, okay, so here's a question. I'm still utilizing ChatGPT because it's very helpful for me, because my mind races so fast that it's hard to focus on what the topic is sometimes, unless I'm hyper focused. Excuse me. So I'm curious as to what you guys do when you're stuck creatively. Like, let's say you're stuck, but like you still feel that ingrained pressure to keep going. I'm curious as to what you guys think about that. So you can feel free to comment down below, or you can direct message me. I'm always available to chat. Like, that's another thing I wanted to get on is that if anybody wants wave formats of any of my edits or anything like that, if they just want like something like that, just message me. I'll send it to you. The reason why I don't have wave downloads and hyped it is because, that costs an extra bit for subscriptions, right? So you got to take into account, like, in real life, you're also paying for bills. You're paying for hydro, lights, things like that. You're paying for Netflix. You're paying for your car insurance. You're paying for all of these things. And like, it all adds up. You're paying for distribution. I'm paying for 2 different distribution sites right now, one of which I never use. So it's kind of like, it's not that I'm not going broke or anything, but it's kind of like, man, this is taking a huge dent in funds that I could be harnessing that into a new plugin, anything like that, or promotion for a track. So just message me. I'll send you the entire folder of everything. I have waves. I have, if you even want me to render a specific file type, I may do that. I won't do that all of the time, but if I have time, I'll do that. I make time. Okay? So yeah, feel free to let me know what you guys do when you're feeling stuck. Creative living and identity. Am I my art? Separating self-worth from creative output. I think you could look at it that way, that you are your art, or the art is just an extension of yourself. That's up to you, I think. You know, there are a lot of people that you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, they are their art. There are a lot of people that are faking it. There are a lot of people that are very good at faking it. There are a lot of people that are very good at being the artist, but not very good at being the mascot. You know, and this is what I'm talking about, is a lot of the time with content creating, you know, it goes against the grain of what an artist is. And a lot of the time, if you've ever met an artist, they're weird. They're fucking weird people. Like, they're not, and I don't mean that as a diss. I just mean that they're like, it's fun. I find it so hilarious to me that, you know, so many people, they go and they look at artists that are, you know, that they're quite successful from an objective standpoint. You know, they're quite quote unquote famous and things like that, and they support them, and they're a total stranger to these people. And when it comes down to people that they know in real life, nothing. It's like they're kind of, it's a more of an eye roll, kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, you're an artist. And you could look at that as a diss, but it's not really a diss. It's just kind of funny that happens. And you know what I'm talking about. The people that don't bat an eye to share Kanye West's, well, maybe he's not a good example right now, to share somebody's song that's major, yet it's almost as though like they're blinded to the person that they grew up with. And no, I'm not implying that I need my friends to share my stuff. It's just something that's kind of funny to me. I find that very hilarious. And you know, when it comes down to people doing their art like this, is they really didn't need the support of maybe the people they grew up with. A lot of the time, the support they got is from people who are strangers for the most part. Why is it we live in a society that puts art in such a high regard, and yet it's the hardest to achieve, to make money in? Like, think about it. You can't go anywhere without hearing a song. You always hear a song. Of course, it's all orchestrated into a specific formula nowadays, but you'll hear a song, and it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about music, movies, you know, whatever it is, video games, that's art. It's all art. So are you your art? I think that's up to you. I think you can see that in people, you know, like they really reflect what they believe in. The myth of the creative genius, embracing imperfect, slow, or collaborative work. Yeah, you know, you'll from time to time you'll meet a savant who's just a complete creative genius. I know a friend like that right now. He goes by search up Stessie Music, STESSIE, and this guy is out of this world. To me, he's a creative genius, a complete creative genius. And I've worked with him a handful of times. I know him from back when I used to make melodic house, kind of an Avicii-esque progressive house style. And, you know, he made amazing music. And this guy's crazy. Like, I would, and crazy in a good way. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean like, we made a bass house track that still hasn't released. And this was when the Fraser project was going to be bass house and tech house. It wasn't going to be French house, even though in the back of my mind, I wanted it to be French house. I thought I had to follow trends. So back to the first episode is like, follow what you truly want. The right people will understand it. But we made this track. It's called All Out, you know, and really what happened was I just sent him a drop idea, like literally maybe a 30-second clip of a drop idea. And typically, like, I'm guilty for this, is like, if people send me an idea like that, I will finish the whole idea right then and there. And it's really weird because when that happens to me, I don't know how to take it. And I sent him this 30-second clip, and oh my God, I'm not even joking. Either the next day or that same very day, he sends the full track, and it sounds finished, completely finished. I'm just gobsmacked. I'm going like, God zooks, like, you really did this? It was crazy. I didn't know what to do. I was listening to it. Like, I love the track, and I still play it out when I get the chance to this day. And I don't know, I want to get into his mind. Like, or I don't want to get into his mind, but I just mean, I want more people to appreciate what it is he does, because holy shit, it was phenomenal. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, this is just your track at this point. Like, I don't mind. Like, I might as well just be the, like, the co-producer or something. I don't know. Like, he helped me with the track I just released now called Complicated, which uses splice vocals. And just like that, like, I had the whole track basically finished, but then he added, the UK garage kind of plucky bit, and he added the really nice little textures of like the rap vocals and things like that. The kind of, he gave it that width of the bass. He did a lot of stuff that just made the track finish. Like, before, the track was okay, but afterwards he just kind of put that sauce on it, And this is what I want to get to with music, is nobody does this alone. You don't have to do everything yourself. At that time, I was in camp, so I was working 12-hour shifts for 30 days straight, and I didn't have time to produce, and I really wanted to get these tracks finished as soon as possible. So I hired him to finish that track for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. When I first started this this music journey, I had a huge problem with ghost production. That's a toxic ego. That's somebody who doesn't know better. Everyone has somebody working for them. There's always a co-producer. There's always somebody in the background, kind of, like the main artist of whoever you're listening to, I guarantee you they've had at least 4 to 5 people editing or fixing or adding their own little parts to a track, but their names aren't on the main title. Oh no, they're in the fine print. So shout out to him, because he helped me a lot on that track. And he's a very good guy. I don't know how I got onto that topic, but I just wanted to talk about this guy because this guy is amazing. Check out his music. It's so good. He should be famous. I'm not even joking. He should be famous. Okay, so why you don't have to be brand safe to be real. Being brand safe is just smart. It's smart from a business standpoint, but it can kill the artist inside. It's the symbolism of selling your soul. You're not really selling your soul. You're just you're selling out on what you truly want to do so you could stand out or have a chance. And it's quite easy. I don't know what's popping now. Was it Afro House? I don't know. I don't listen to Afro House. I like it. I don't even listen to house music. I rarely listen to house music. I listen to Creedence Clearwater Revival. I listen to Frank Sinatra. I listen to Dolly Parton. I listen to all the old stuff. I listen to Electric Light Orchestra, all of that. And Digital Life and Boundaries. Creating in public versus creating in private. The tension between sharing and protecting your ideas. Yeah, honestly, protect your ideas. Really protect your ideas. I'm not joking when I say this. Don't reveal too much. I didn't tell anybody I was doing this podcast thing, and it's not even a proper podcast thing. It's not on Spotify, nothing like that, but I don't tell people what I'm doing, because typically, like, you got to be careful when you're telling people what you're doing, because you can kind of mess yourself up with that. Because when you tell somebody what you're planning on doing, you get that dopamine ahead of time, that feeling of accomplishment ahead of time, and you're less likely to finish it, because it's kind of like a little pat on your back. And celebrating there's that whole saying, celebrating too early. You don't want to do that. So yeah, keep to yourself, keep your ideas private, because they're your ideas. Unless you're open and willing to share with other people, and you're open to collaborating with other people, if they can add something to it, I think that's beneficial. And I hate to say that, it's not an egotistical thing at all, but sometimes it's like when you have a track completely finished and then somebody says, oh, I want to hop on the track. It's kind of like, why? It's finished. And maybe they add maybe a riser or something. You know, I've been in that situation where I've joined a collaboration, but the more I listened to the collaboration, the more it sounded finished, and I just kind of told them, like, I think it should be your track. I don't think, like, at most I just did the mixing. Like, maybe you could just pay me for the mixing. I could do the mixing for you. You know, I have no problem with that. But I really didn't add anything much apart from a riser and maybe some automation, you know. And a little bit of a segue, but to anyone who's ever produced with larger artists as an unknown artist, what is it about larger artists not pulling their weight in collaborations? Okay, I have to be very careful because I'm not entirely spiteful, but it's something I've noticed with not only myself for personal experiences, but with other people as well. What is it with that? Not pulling their weight. You know, you hear them releasing all of these tracks and they're so good. They're so good. You know they can do it. And then they want to work with you or things like that, you know, and maybe they'll send you an idea. Maybe you'll send them an idea. And then it's up to you to basically finish the whole idea. You know, like, as if, how do I want to say that? As if they're doing some sort of favor to you by having their name next to yours. It's, yeah, that kind of sounded a bit hateful, but it's funny to me when I see that happening, and it's kind of like, I thought this was a collaboration, not free ghost production. That's how it can feel sometimes. You gotta do what you gotta do. That's the way of the world. Okay, so algorithm anxiety. How social media affects your process, validation, and momentum. Well, yeah, if you get too caught up into the algorithm, the social media, like, let's say you put so much work into something and you only get 4 likes. That can really crush a young ego. Like, that could crush your ego. Oh my god, I didn't get 4 likes by 4 strangers, but I should be getting 1 million likes. Who cares? You put it out there, like, you know, just send it out to people. Send it to the right people. You never know who's listening. Just keep posting. Do whatever you want. Like, if you really care about the likes, of course, from a visual standpoint, that looks like success. If you look at my TikTok right now, you wouldn't think that I get very much play. Go to my SoundCloud, it's another story. Okay? Go to my Spotify, it's another story. But TikTok is like, for me, like, if anyone looked at my TikTok, they'd be like, oh, this guy's not popping. And fair enough, like, a lot of people are that surface level. Okay, so validation and momentum. I guess that dopamine kick that you get from a like or a share can be quite good, you know, but you don't get it mistaken for that's the reason why you're doing this, is so you can feel good for validation like that, because that is a sucker's game. You don't want to get into that. You're better than that. Trust me. The momentum. Yeah, I'll have to think about that for another time, I think. Curating versus creating. The value of consuming intentionally. Curating versus creating. Yeah, you know, you can get ideas from other people who are very similar to you. And I think for getting ideas on TikTok it's like mental popcorn. You know, it's easily digestible. Not a lot of thought needs to go into it. For the most part, you can make it smart, but why would you make it smart if you're going to be in the 100 view jail? You know, like, and I don't mean that in a negative view. I just mean I just sort of mean, like, create something that's easy for you, but enough that it's substantial and you're satisfied with it. Okay? Philosophical and reflective. Okay. What would you make if no one was watching? Exactly what I'm making. Simple as that. The role of boredom in creativity. I think when you get bored, it's because you're doing something like a factory. Like you're doing something too. You put yourself in a box. That's why you're bored. Art is a time capsule. How creative work captures moments you didn't realize were important. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes there are elements in songs that are happy accidents, and that can trigger a memory, and it can really stick with you. Sometimes, joking in the group chat with the boys, like all you do is add drums to disco hits, that ain't producing, with my boy Louis Lowe. That's an inside joke, I'm making fun of well, from my standpoint, I'm making fun of people before they can make fun of me, or I'm making fun of myself before they can make fun of me. So I think it's misinformed that a lot of people think that all French house producers or disco house producers, all they do is add drums over a disco hit and loop it, which from its surface level, yeah, I suppose, but do you realize multi-band mixing? Do you realize exactly what you're doing in the mix? Not all of those are drum loops from Splice. A lot of them are one-shots. A lot of them are your own loops. There's a lot of different things that you do, you separate stems, you reprocess them, you get them replayed, anything like this. And yeah, it's like a funny little inside joke, that thing that I mentioned to it. So yeah, stuff like that can, you can have a lot of good memories with that. Practical and personal. How to stay inspired without burning out. There's nothing wrong with burning out. Burning out, you just need a rest. I don't quite agree with that, staying inspired without burning out. The inspiration will always be there. It will always come, trust me. The artist's day job dilemma. Speaking. Balancing survival work with creative goals. If you're not creative, do the dishes. If you don't have a creative outlook, cook a meal prep for the week. I don't know, man. I don't want to tell you how to do your life, but if it's not working for you and you're in a dark pit, that's a mess. You got to fix it. It's up to you. Building creative habits when you're not feeling it. You see, this is exactly what I'm getting at, is I kind of contradict what a lot of people say, is they force yourself to make stuff, even if it's crap. And I agree with that. Force yourself to make things, even if it's crap. But there's a time sometimes where you can just sit down and do nothing. I think the hardest challenge for people who put pressure on themselves is to be okay with sitting down and doing nothing. Well, with all of these thoughts, if that resonated with you, if you guys enjoyed this, I'd really love to hear how you're navigating your creative process. How are you balancing your creative processes? How are you dealing with that? How do you deal with creative block? How do you deal with self-doubt? I'm very curious as to what you guys do. Is that even a thing for you? What are your thoughts on the idea of now you're creating music for content as opposed to the other way around? Do you even believe that's the case? Yeah, just keep on keeping on, guys, and when it comes to focusing on the wrong things, stop trying to prove yourself right about the wrong things. If you're thinking, oh, I'm not successful, stop thinking that, because your mind is only going to go to places to reaffirm that belief. Start saying, I'm okay, I'm successful, I'm right where I need to be, and that's exactly what you need to do. So until next time, guys, take care, and yeah.